Hello, everyone. Welcome to Easy Dharma for Difficult Times. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to refresh my screen so I can see who is joining us tonight. These are weekly, no, they're not weekly. They're daily sessions done by either myself or Pastor David at 9 p.m. on the Kechara Facebook page. And you can join us here every night apart from Thursday nights. So we don't have any so we won't have a session tomorrow, and a session after that will be again on Friday with Pastor David. Okay, so I hope people are liking our sessions so far and things that we have been discussing. If you do have any comments or anything that you would like me to talk about specifically, do message, and we can tailor the sessions according to anything that you guys out there would want to know about. So I've just seen some people come online. Hi Keng Hoi and Mr. Lam and Yin Ping. Very good to see the regulars here again. Thanks for joining. So just wanted to do a quick recap about everything I've been talking about so far during these sessions. And this kind of ties in with what I want to talk about today. So today I want to talk about delusions, karma, and merit, and how these kind of work together. Because even though that I've been primarily talking about karma and I've been talking about merit, something that Pastor David has been talking about is delusions, and in particular a couple of delusions. So he's been talking about two, which is attachment, and also he's talking about aggression and anger. Okay, so what I wanted to do in today's session is kind of bring it all together a little bit from what I've been about the differences between karma and merit, and how they work with and how they basically in creating delusions or furthering delusions within our lives. And then how, from the spiritual side of it, you use merit to actually get out of it. All right. So I've seen some more, quite a few people come on. Lillian Tan's come on. Hello. Thank you for joining. Karen Wong and Jillian Lin. Yiling's online. Hello, thanks for joining. And Jacinta is online as well. Thank you very much for joining today's session. And Whitney's online as well. Hello. Okay, so if you've just joined, what I'm going to be talking about today is delusions, karma, and merit. All right. Now, I think everybody watching this probably knows a little bit about Dharma, a little bit about Dharma practice, and everybody comes to the Dharma for different reasons. But the main reason that we come to the Dharma is because for some reason we actually figure out some way or another. And yes, this is going to link back to my favorite topic, which is the Four Noble Truths, okay? So, generally speaking, what happens is that there comes a point in our life, and this can come at an earlier point for some people and at a later point for other people, when they just get tired of doing the same old thing. All right, you're stuck in this kind of rat race. All right, you wake up, you eat your breakfast, maybe you talk to your spouse or your loved ones, maybe you drop your kids at school, you make sure they're okay, you go into work, you spend your entire day at work. Once work is finished, you leave work, maybe you go for a meal with your colleagues or your friends, or you go home to eat dinner, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up and you do the entire thing again and again and again. All right? But what happens is that even though this is the norm, you get used to it. You get used to it because a lot of other sufferings happen in the meantime to break up the day, and that actually takes the majority of our thinking, of our mental capacity. Our mental bandwidth is taken up by the most immediate forms of suffering that we go through. For example, you might be having financial trouble, so your worries and your mental bandwidth is completely taken up by this financial trouble. But the matter of the fact is, it's not just the financial trouble that is taking up your mental bandwidth. It's actually your entire day, all right? From doing the same thing again and again and again. And for some people, they come to a realization, or maybe not even just a realization, maybe I could just call it a feeling that, is this it? You come to a kind of, you basically ask yourself, is this my life now? Is this all I'm going to be doing? All right? And that is actually due to our karma. It's due to our delusions, because we're in this cycle and it just keeps repeating itself again and again and again. But the key here, right, is once you reach that stage of, is this all I'm going to be doing? Is this everything in my life? All right. The key here is to use that particular point to actually transform your life. That is when you're able to make an effective change in your life to transform it for the better. Now, you might be thinking, but I've never had one of those moments. But the very fact that you're studying, and especially, and you're learning, you're listening to me and Pastor David, maybe you're listening to some of Temrinpochi's teachings on YouTube, the very fact that you're listening to listening to Dharma sharings, basically will change your mind in a way that one day you will have that moment where you go, is this it? Is this my life? All right? And that is the key moment in which that you need to make the decision that no, you don't want to be stuck in the rat race for the rest of your life. You actually want to change your life to make it something positive. All right? Now, this moment that comes about, you can actually feel quite stuck. You feel stuck because you actually don't know what to do. All right? You want to change your life, you want to make it better, but you just don't know how to go about doing it. All right? And one of the main reasons why you don't know how to go about doing it is actually a very particular delusion. And this delusion is called attachment, or it's called craving. All right? Now, I'm not going to go too much into what it actually is, because that is something that Pastor David has talked about in a couple of his previous sessions. But what I want to talk about is actually how it affects your life on a general sense. All right? Now, when you have craving, when you have attachment for something, you're constantly looking for it. All right? Now, yes, we understand this on an intellectual level, but I'm going to go more into it, and I'm going to give you examples that might relate a little bit better. Okay? Now, the two kind of examples I'm going to give is, if you think back to the time when you were a child and you think about your life now. All right? In both these instances, you would have wanted something. You would have been attached to something, and you would have been craving after something. All right? Now, craving and attachment actually comes from, it's actually in our mind stream from previous lifetimes. So even as children, we kind of instinctively want certain things. We instinctively crave for certain things. All right? Now, just due to the very nature that we live in society and how society works, all right, this craving or this attachment is actually quite focused, all right, on a day-to-day level, on our environment, on what sort of society we grew up in, on what our parents brought us up with. For example, if you're a child, you know, one of the things that, you know, kids always crave is they want to eat sweets. All right? But the thing is, have you ever wondered why kids actually want to eat sweets? All right? They want to eat sweets because it's a learned behavior. They see other kids eating sweets, so they automatically want to eat sweets. They crave that sugary, that taste, gives them pleasure when they eat it. They really want sweets. But it's more than just about the physical sensation of eating something sweet, all right? It is also about learned behavior, all right? And this learned behavior comes from parents, it comes from the media, it comes from all sorts of places. And it's something that is unavoidable because it is the society we live in. And it's just the way that society works. All right. So since this craving on a day-to-day level is actually a learned behavior, it actually makes sense that you can actually unlearn it. Or even if you don't think you can unlearn it, you can actually learn something better. You can learn something and put into practice something that is better. All right. Now, I'm going to give an example of this. I'm not going to say who, but there was once I was in a car with a particular pastor, and we were driving down back from KL to Bentong. All right, Bentong is where Kechara Forest Retreat is located. So that's where we live, that's where we work, that's where I am now. All right, and we saw a particular billboard, and on that billboard was a advertisement. And this cake was actually being sold at Secret Recipe, all right? Now, when you looked at the billboard, it was a very good piece of advertising because it made the dessert look absolutely amazing, all right? Then the pastor turns around to me that I was with in the country and she says, "Oh, it looks quite like a really good dessert. I wonder if it tastes nice." So I didn't think anything of it. But the next time we were in the car, there was an advert on the radio. And the advert was for this particular dessert at Secret Recipe. And this particular pastor, turned around to me and said, "Oh, I really want to go to Secret Recipe now and have that dessert." All right. And then, a couple of days passed again, and then we went out. And then I think we went to an appointment somewhere, and then we were waiting in the waiting room, and there happened to be a magazine. And guess what? This magazine had an advert for this exact dessert at Secret Recipe. All right? So this pastor was just completely engrossed by this particular advert, and I was wondering, what is she looking at? I looked over her shoulder, and lo and behold, she was looking at this advert for this particular dessert in Secret Recipe. And then for the next 2 weeks, all she could talk about was, "Oh my God, I really want to go to Secret Recipe because I really want to have that dessert because it looks so good. And, everybody says it tastes really nice." So she gets really worked up in wanting to go to Secret Recipe. And then it just so happened we had some time to go out to eat. So off we went to Bentong town, and we have a Secret Recipe there, and we sat down, and then most people would just, when you go to a restaurant, you don't order dessert first, you order your starter or your main dish, and then maybe a drink, and then you order your dessert, all right, after you finished eating everything. But she was so obsessed with wanting to have this dessert that she actually ordered dessert first, all right? So our main meals came and her dessert, because all she wanted to eat was this dessert. So she was looking at it, and she was taking pictures to put on Instagram, and she was going just about, just taking her time because she knew it was going to be this heavenly experience, all right? And she gets her fork and she puts it in a little bit of this cake, and she puts it into her mouth, and she's expecting heaven on a fork, all right? This dessert the best dessert in the world, all right? But she, after about 5 or 10 minutes after eating it, she was like, this it's not as great as I thought it would be. I mean, it's a good dessert, but I just thought it would be a lot better. All right? The moral of the story is, all right, the way that society works with media and advertising, it panders to our attachment. It panders to our craving, all right? And this craving some form of suffering, because in her case she was so looking forward to having this dessert that when she actually got it and she actually tasted it, it didn't meet her expectations. When it didn't meet her expectations, it made her suffer because she was expecting something fantastic, but she didn't get it. All right? Now, this, unfortunately, is the way the world works. And it's not just with things like advertising, but it's also with things like upbringing, how we were brought up by our parents. All right? Now, coming from an Asian background, all parents want their kids to have a good job, a good education, a good job, and then, have a good house, get married, have kids. This is something that is kind of ingrained within our culture. I mean, in Malaysia, we have the Chinese culture, and we have Indian culture. Actually, they're quite similar in both of these aspects, all right? Now, within these two cultures, that is the norm. That is what you're kind of brought up. That is what you kind of want. And you will see that people actually go out of their way to make sure that they get that. And a lot of the things and a lot of the suffering that comes along with life is due to our expectations of what we should have and, how we should live. But our expectation is actually craving. It is actually attachment. It is a form of attachment. Okay? So basically, you go through your entire life with the sole purpose of wanting to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy, but the way in which we go about trying to get that happiness is we go about it trying to satisfy our cravings. All right? These cravings can be cake. As I've explained, these cravings can be a good job. These cravings can be a good spouse. These cravings can be making sure our kids do well in school, so they get a good job. These cravings can be getting a new house. These cravings can be going to the restaurant to eat a new meal, going on holiday. If you look at all of these things, all of these cravings that you actually go for that actually ultimately lead you to dissatisfaction are actually based on the self, all right? They're based on the self because it's something that you want. It is something that makes that you think is going to bring you happiness, all right? Even if you think that it's going to bring another person happiness, actually, if you sit down and you look at it, it doesn't actually bring them happiness. It brings you happiness. All right? And I'm going to give you an example. Parents love to tell children what to study at school. All right? Now, parents will always think that if children go into fields in which they know that their children can earn a lot of money, that the children are ultimately going to be happy because they're going to get, a good job. They're going to have a lot of money. They can spend it on whatever they want to spend it on, and they're going to be happy. But actually, that thinking from a parent's point of view is actually selfish, because it doesn't take into consideration the child. Maybe the child has other qualities that you can nurture and develop, and that they can go on to be something that they want to be, that they want to do, and they know that they will be good at doing. But parents may force their views and opinions onto their child because they think it's on the child, it's based on the parent. Okay? So, I'm not sure if I'm still online.
Yes, well.
I'm still online. Yay. Okay. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. Sorry about that technical difficulties. I hope you're all back now. All right. So, as I was explaining, is that we actually go through life trying to satisfy these cravings, and There's a sole purpose in life, even if you're not aware of it. Okay, it's actually how we operate in life. All right. So now the question is, how does that come about? And that actually comes about because the majority of the time, what we're engaging in is either negative karma or neutral karma. And again, this isn't something I'm going to go into. Please watch my session on the karma chart, which was compiled by Tsamrimji, if you want to know more about that. I hope I'm still online. Hi. If you're having problems, please refresh your screen. I should be back. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So now the question is, how do we actually go about cutting those delusions? How do you go about, and specifically I'm going to talk about this craving, all right? Because this craving is based on a self-centered mind. It's always actually based on the self, on the I, on the me, all right? If you do this, it's going to make me happy, all right? If I do this, I'm going to be happy. If I get the car, I'm going to be happy. If I go on holiday, I am going to be happy, right? All right. So the way to cut this delusion, all right, cut all delusions basically, is to actually practice spirituality. And by spirituality and spiritual transformation, what I'm talking specifically about is the Buddhist teachings, all right? Now, how to practice, how does it work? When you practice the Dharma, when you practice doing your daily sadhana, when you practice engaging in retreat, when you practice turning everyday actions into merit-making actions, which is something I mentioned in my last session, how does that actually work? And it's quite simple, all right? You actually put effort every day into trying to meet your craving, trying to get your attachments, all right? Now what you do in Dharma practice is you channel that same energy and you channel it towards something different. You channel it towards spiritual transformation. The energy is the same. You can either put all of your energy while you're awake into making money, getting the car, getting the spouse, making sure your children do well, going on holiday. That same energy you can actually divert and actually focus on Dharma practice, Dharma learning, putting Dharma into practice, and in that way you transform your life, all right? Now, when you do that, you generate merit, okay? Merit, I went into the kind of mechanics of it in the last session, all right? But now I wanted to talk about karma and I want to talk about merit. Karma is based on self-centeredness. It's based on the I. The generation of merit, however, is focused on others. All right? Now, I want to read out a quote by Rinpoche, by Tsab Rinpoche, when he talks about delusions, karma, and merit. All right? In the case of delusions, therefore, the wish to benefit ourselves, all right? That is kind of Rinpoche's definition of what a delusion is anything that wants to solely benefit ourselves, okay? The wish to benefit ourselves, creating karma, all right, only serves to feed and further reinforce our cravings. So when you have a craving or when you have an attachment, all right, and when you go about living your life just to get something, all right, it can be a physical object or it can be a situation or a circumstance within our lives, you create karma. And the reason why you create karma from that is because it's based on the self, all right? However, the wish to benefit others, which creates merit, serves to lessen the cravings, allowing it to eventually cease. All right? So you're asking, how does it do that? How does creating merit and the wish to benefit others allow all these cravings to cease? All right? It's quite simple. your energy is no longer focused towards cravings. It's no longer focused towards yourself. Now you're using your energy and you're focused on other people. Obviously, your cravings will become less, because your cravings and your attachment becomes less because you are no longer focused on yourself. You are now focused on somebody else. All right? If anybody has any questions so far, please do ask, all right? Or comments, all right? So when you have craving, when you have attachment, you kind of get caught up in this trap, in this cyclic existence is how it's termed. But even on a day-to-day level, you get caught up in the trap. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you spend time with your family, you go to sleep. That's it. That's all you do. And it's that again and again and again and again and again. But where is the meaning? Where is the purpose? How do you find fulfillment in that? And this is something that Buddhism teaches. This is something that the Four Noble Truths teaches. There is no fulfillment in that. There is no spiritual transformation in that. Spiritual transformation only comes when you focus on other people. All right? Now, I've explained this to people before, and Rinpoche has explained this to people before as well. And one question that often comes up is, especially among people who are already practicing the Dharma, all right, who may have, come to pujas, who are learning a little bit, who are doing daily sadhanas, who may have done a couple of retreats. Now, the question that gets asked is, but what happens if I feel trapped when I'm doing the Dharma? Okay, I feel trapped in ordinary life, all right, and then I'm trying to seek a way out of feeling trapped, and then I've come across the Dharma, and now I'm practicing the Dharma. How do I ensure that I don't also feel trapped in doing the Dharma? All right, and this is a serious question, and one that Rinpoche had a serious answer to, because it was something that people already practicing a little bit of the Buddha's teachings were asking. These were genuine questions that people had. So Rinpoche told them to check your motivation. Why are you practicing the Dharma? Okay? If you're practicing the Dharma as an escape, as a way to feel good for a little while, you just want to escape the suffering of your secular life, and you just want to feel good for a little while, all right? Or if you're doing the Dharma to impress somebody, because, oh, look at me, I'm all, holy schmoly, look at me, I'm doing the Dharma, look at me, I'm generating merits, look at me, I can recite this scripture, look at me, I'm doing a puja, look at me, I know all this information. Your motivation, even when you're practicing the Dharma, is actually self-centered, is based on you. And if you keep that motivation, and if you keep practicing the Dharma from that, oh, look at me, I'm practicing the Dharma, oh, look at me, I'm a Buddhist, all right? If you keep practicing the Dharma with that kind of motivation, you will eventually feel trapped. And the reason is because your motivation is not what it should be, all right? If your motivation is actually to focus out, to focus on others, all right, then you actually won't feel trapped when you practice the Dharma. And this is the reason, which I've been harping on about. I know I've been harping on about this in many of my previous sessions, but I harp on about it is because it's something that Rinpoche instilled in me, is your motivation. Your motivation, you need to set your motivation, basically, as much as you can. All right, you need to set your motivation at the beginning of your day. You need to set your motivation before you engage in any Dharma work, any Dharma practice. All right? When you set your motivation and when you're constantly doing it, even if you're just reciting it, but you're thinking about it when you recite it, may I achieve enlightenment for all sentient beings. May I achieve enlightenment for all sentient beings. May I achieve enlightenment for all sentient beings. All right? You go through it it is more than just the physical act of reciting it verbally. You also need to internalize it. And when you do internalize it, you actually find that your motivation actually improves. You find that your motivation actually changes. It becomes less self-centered and more towards other people, more towards actually helping other sentient beings. All right. And when that happens, all right, automatically you will not feel trapped. You will not feel trapped in Dharma practice if you were, because your motivation wasn't great, and you will not feel trapped in your everyday life. Okay, because you changed that motivation. All right. Now, I have a question from Yuseng. Is merit universal? Does it always has to be in relation to the three jewels? If not in relation to the three jewels, what happens to those merits gained? Okay, so merits, all right? The usual way that we kind of talk about generating merit is to do a virtuous activity. And that virtuous activity always has your motivation at the beginning, the actual act itself, and a dedication. All right. Now, this can be something from making water offerings on your altar. It can also be something from feeding the homeless or feeding stray dogs or even feeding your family. I talked about this in one of my sessions previously. Any act can be transformed into a merit-making act. All right. But yes, it will be in relation to the three jewels. All right. Now, this can be in direct relation to the three jewels in the sense that you're making offerings on your altar to the three jewels. But how is maybe, feeding a stray dog? How can you generate merit from that? The object is a dog. It is not the Buddha's. All right. The key here is that the very act of generating merit is, in order to do that, you need to have faith in the three jewels. Need to have faith in the three jewels in the sense of, that there is an enlightened state which is outside of all suffering, which is known as becoming a Buddha. You know that the way to go about doing this is the practice of the Dharma, all right? And the people who can teach this to you is the Sangha. So you need to have faith in the three jewels in order to generate merit. Because if you don't have faith that there is a state, outside of all of suffering, you're just doing positive karma, all right? Because you have that motivation to achieve that state at the beginning, to help everyone, to help all sentient beings, your motivation is itself to reach enlightenment so you can help. So you need to believe in enlightenment in order to generate merits. Second is the actual act. It can be anything. And third is the dedication, which is exactly the same thing. It is the knowledge and the understanding that there is a state called enlightenment, and you can do something to reach that state so you can benefit other people. So I hope that answers your question. All right. So if you don't have that understanding, you're not actually generating merits. You're actually generating positive karma. So there's a difference. All right. Positive karma will actually end. You will get the results of your positive karma, and your positive karma will be exhausted. But merits, on the other hand, do not end. You will always benefit from your generation of merit. All right. Okay. Sharon asks, what does internalize mean, and how do we internalize something? Is there an easy way to internalize something? Okay. How do you internalize something? All right. What is usually meant by the term internalize basically means is you take a concept or a way of thinking and you basically practice in such a way that it just becomes natural. It's like you familiarize, thank you, Pastor David, you familiarize yourself with this particular concept. So if you're talking about compassion, all right, you internalize compassion by familiarizing yourself with compassion, all right? You familiarize yourself with it first. So what does that mean? You actually remember compassion, you meditate on it, and you actively go about living your life in a compassionate way, which means you think about benefiting others, you think about improving the lives of others, you think about lessening the suffering of others. All right. Now, at first, this is obviously going to be forced. All right. Because it's not something that we do 100%. As I said before, a lot of the way that we live our lives is actually very selfish. It's very self-centered. All right. So when you begin practicing compassion, you won't be able to internalize it immediately because you have to force yourself to do it. And as you familiarize yourself with the actions of compassion, what happens is it becomes natural. And when you familiarize yourself with it and when it becomes natural, that's what it means by having internalized something. All right. Now, the second part of Sharon's question, is there an easy way to internalize something? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Okay? Now, don't get depressed. Everybody is going to be thinking, oh my God, it's going to take work. Oh my God, it's going to take effort. Oh, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. But let me ask you one thing. Ultimately, what is going to provide you with the most benefit? Internalizing compassion or chasing after 5 billion ringgit that you're never actually going to get? All right? In fact, you would probably put more energy and more effort into reaching 5 billion ringgit than you would do, just familiarizing yourself with compassionate action in daily life. All right? Ultimately, what's going to be of more benefit? It's actually going to be compassion. All right? So, before I answered the question, I was talking about motivation. I was talking about how to changing your motivation from being self-centered to actually being based on others, focused on others. So the key question here, whenever we talk about motivation, is how do I change my motivation? All right? And it's very simple. Your motivation comes from knowledge, and knowledge comes from learning. All right? This is also in the karma chart that I explained the other day, but I didn't go into it that much. Motivation comes from knowledge and learning. Knowing what is right, knowing how to think to benefit others, knowing how to think of lessening that self-centeredness. And here, everybody asks, so where do I get this knowledge from? How do I learn this knowledge? All right? The perfect place to get this knowledge from, all right, is a guru, is a teacher. This is why, especially within our lineage, there is a very strong and heavy emphasis on the guru. And the reason why there is a strong and heavy emphasis on the guru is because here is a person who has devoted their lives, all right, to learning the teachings of the Buddha, all right, practicing the teachings, and then teaching it in a way that is contemporary, teaching in a way that the students, which is us, will benefit from it. Okay? This is why a guru is important. All right? Now, the kind of obvious question that a lot of people ask now is, unfortunately, His Eminence Samui Rinpoche is no longer physically with us. So a lot of people say, well, I consider Samui Rinpoche to be my guru, but, how is he going to tell me how to, transform my motivation? How is he going to tell me now how to become a better person or practice compassion? All right? The thing is, even though Rinpoche is no longer physically with us, his Dharma, his knowledge is still with us. All right? And where is his knowledge? Well, it's quite simple. I'm sharing what Rinpoche taught with us. I'm sharing it to you now. All right? Not only is it the students who have received teachings and received experiential teachings from Rinpoche, but it's also things like samrinpoche.com, the blog. All right? One thing that Rinpoche always envisioned samrinpoche.com to be is a virtual temple. All right? So people came to Kechara Forest Retreat to meet Rinpoche to find a way out of their suffering. But what Rinpoche really wanted is for the blog to be a virtual temple. Rinpoche spent years and years and so much energy and so much hard work, many, many sleepless nights, in order to have the Dharma at your fingertips. So now you don't even, you can get it wherever you are. We're in MCO right now. We're all stuck at home. What are you doing? You're online now. You're listening to me on Facebook, on the internet. And that is where Rinpoche stored most of his knowledge, stored most of that knowledge of how to transform our motivation. He stored it online, on his blog articles, on his YouTube channel. There's so much there. There's so much there that if you actually take the time and actually just read and comprehend, your motivation just by reading and comprehending is actually going to transform your motivation. All right? Now, another question that people always ask is, how am I going to, transform my motivation from myself to thinking about other people, thinking about all sentient beings? All right? Now, it is not something that happens in an instant, because you have to change how you direct your energies in life. You have to change the effort you put into doing certain things. All right? So it is a process. All right? It is a process. It is something that you learn, you need to put energy into. But it is a process that is beneficial. It is something that will literally transform your life. Okay? Now, you're thinking, how do I, I'm not going to think about helping hell beings or ghosts or, demigods or the gods. Maybe I can think about helping people. Maybe I can think about helping animals because I can see them, I can interact with them. But how can I do all of them at once? The point is, you start with those closest to you first. You change your motivation not from a self-centeredness, but you start with the people closest to you. In fact, one of the most well-known panditas of India that's always quoted within our lineage, Tibetan Buddhism, whatever, his name was Shantideva. And how he taught you how to change your motivation to a more compassionate one is actually to start from your mother. All right? Now, I'm not going to get into it now, but there's various contemplation meditation techniques that he taught to use the example of your mother first to change your perception of others and generate compassion for them. And when you do that, your motivation obviously becomes more and more towards others, which generates merit. All right? So the generation of merit, all right, as we mentioned earlier by that quote from Rinpoche, the generation of merit lessens your cravings. And as it lessens your cravings and your attachments, it lessens your suffering. All right? So you actually become lighter, you become free, you no longer feel trapped. Okay? Now, even though saying this, I know that it is a process that can be tough. All right? And the reason why is because you really have to kind of look at yourself. You have to look at how you live your life, how you interact with others. Even if you thought that you were interacting with others and thinking well for them, when you approach it from this particular angle, you might actually realize that maybe you weren't, and maybe the way that you were thinking will help them is actually self-centered rather than actually how they need, or how the other person needs help. All right? But guess what? Not doing this is actually much worse. Because if you don't do this, and you don't do this now, and start yourself on this path of practice, you are going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck for the rest of your life. It's just going to go, your whole life will just go by with you feeling stuck, doing the same thing again and again and again, and there'll be no way out of it, because you're just kind of constantly craving. You're constantly trying to reach those cravings, constantly trying to get those cravings, and ultimately, I'm sorry to say, it won't actually get us anywhere in life if we don't practice. All right? If we don't actually change to think about others. All right? Okay, got some more questions. Comment from Sharon. In ancient days, people rode yaks over mountains for days just to attend Dharma teachings. We're really fortunate to have samrinpoche.com that's accessible 24/7 at our fingertips. Absolutely 100% correct, Sharon. And this is something that Rinpoche wanted, and this is something that, Kechara has worked towards. You see, Rinpoche knew that a lot of people go through suffering and go through feeling stuck and don't have a way out of it. And what Rinpoche wanted to do is to bring the Dharma, bring the teachings that he learnt, he implemented, and he taught to as many people as possible, because it provides people with hope. It provides people with a way out of their suffering. So you're 100% correct. And the thing is that now, if you've listened to me give my spiel for the last, 50 minutes, and you're thinking about it, you're pondering it. If you don't actually make use of it, it's a waste of. It's just a really bad waste, because you have the energy. All right. I'm sure everybody's got a lot of energy during MCO. We're all stuck indoors. Just go online, go onto the blog, read an article, think about it, and then contemplate it. How do you actually put it into practice? All right? Now, here is where I'm going to do something a little bit different. I know a lot of you come on here quite regularly, and I know who you all are. All right? So now I'm going to give you homework. I'm going to give you homework. All right? Now, I want you to do your homework tonight, which is Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. And then on my session on Saturday, I want us to discuss this little bit of homework. All right? Now, this homework is very, very simple. At the end of the day, before you go to sleep, I want you to get a piece of paper, and I want you to divide that paper into 3 sections. The top of the first part, I want you to write positive. The top of the second part, I want you to write neutral. And the top of the third part, I want you to write negative. So positive, neutral, and then negative. All right? You can do this before you go to sleep. And what I want you to do is I want you to keep a diary of all the actions that you went through in that particular day. All right? And I want you to put it in either one of these 3 categories: positive, neutral, or negative. All right? It can be something very simple. I cooked my family a dinner. Was it positive, neutral, or negative? All right? I talked to my parents on the phone because I'm in my house and we're in MCO and they're in their house. Was your conversation positive, negative, or neutral? Okay? I spent time with my kids today. Was it positive, negative, or neutral? Okay? And this is a gauge for you to see the your actions in your life in this particular day that you're going to do this diary for, to see if you actually spent more time doing something positive, negative, or neutral. All right. And if you're thinking at the moment, oh, I'm not going to do it because it doesn't make any sense. It's got nothing to do with Dharma practice. It's I don't want to do it. It just sounds lame. Okay? In that case, I dare you to do it. Because the things you'll realize when you do it, it will be an eye-opener for you. All right? And this is actual Dharma practice. All right? Because Dharma practice, don't forget, is more than doing a daily sadhana. It is more than making offerings. It's about how you practice in daily life. All right? This is your Dharma homework for the next 3 days. All right? And I will probably tell you what you will find out. Well, I'm not going to talk about that now. Okay, I'll talk about that on Saturday's session. All right. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you guys to do this for 3 days. Okay, you're going to do it tonight. You can do it after you finish watching me. All right. I want you to do it tomorrow night, and I want you to do it the night after, and then on Saturday. All right. I want you, as soon as we start live streaming, I want you to comment, leave a comment about what you found out about your actions in a day. Was it positive? Was it mostly positive? Was it mostly neutral? Or was it negative? All right. Now, the trick here is this is a gauge on how much Dharma we're actually practicing. This is a daily test on how much Dharma you're practicing. When you have more examples, more things to list out on your positive side, then you're negative and you're neutral, then you are practicing the Dharma properly. All right? So if you call yourself a Dharma practitioner at the moment, have you actually sat down and done this? Okay? If you haven't, and you are practicing the Dharma, why don't you do it? All right? So here's a 3-day challenge for all of you. All right? Please keep a journal about all the positive, the neutral, and the negative things you've done during the day, and we'll discuss your findings and what you actually realized and what you actually found out about your daily life on Saturday, during Saturday's session.
Last question.
Okay, before I go, I have a question by Elsie. Elsie asks, "Hi pastors, is it necessary to do King of Prayers after a retreat? If not done, then what can be done? Thank you." Okay. The usual the standard format that Rinpoche advised for doing retreat is that at the end of your retreat, once you've completed everything, you do a King of Prayers. All right. Now, the reason why is to seal and to generate a lot of merit, all right, from your retreat. Now, but you're going to ask me, but I do a completion dedication at the end of each of my retreat sessions. So that means that I've generated merit during a retreat session. So why would I need to do a King of Prayers at the end of the retreat? Because I've already done my completion dedication after my last session. All right. So it's true, you have already generated merit from your retreat sessions. But you see, the King of Prayers itself, all right, is a dedication. So it is an additional dedication. Secondly, it is also a prayer that generates merits itself just by reciting the King of Prayers, because the King of Prayers has all the necessary requirements in and of itself to generate merit. You actually generate more merit than you would have done during your retreat, all right, without reciting it, and you also dedicate that merit at the same time. So it basically acts as a booster, as a bolster to the merit that you've already generated during your retreat. So if you want to make the most use of your retreat in the generation of merit and the purification of negative karma, then yes, you should recite the King of Prayers at the end of your retreat. All right. If not, the second part of the question is, if not done, then what can be done? Thank you. All right. Now, technically speaking, you've already dedicated once you've done your completion dedication at your last session, you've generated merit, all right? But in order to make the most use of your time, in the most benefit, to get the most benefit out of having completed a retreat, then the King of Prayers at the end is a must, all right? So, okay, I think that covers as much as I wanted to cover in today's session. I hope everybody has learned a little bit. Remember to do your Dharma homework. Tomorrow there won't be a session because tomorrow is a Thursday. The next session will be on Friday night at 9 p.m. here again on the Kechara Facebook page. And that session will be led by Pastor David. And I will make sure that he reminds you to do your homework, because I will be expecting more interaction on Saturday's session. All right. And in my next sessions, just to let you guys know, I'll be going over the other of the 6 realms, because I already covered the spirit realm. So I'll be talking about the other realms as well. Okay. So thank you very much for joining. Stay home, stay safe, and stay spiritual. Good night.